First of all, welcome, Japnam, and thank you very much for taking your time, agreeing on talking to us about journalism and your history in journalism, your interest in journalism, and maybe we can get on to some advice that early stage candidates can benefit from. So let us start with what you are currently doing, and then we can go back to the initial stage of your career, and then we can talk about journalism. And
Yes.
does that sound fair?
Right. Thank you so much for that. So, just briefly and very quickly, currently I'm working with the Central Ministry, handling their social media outputs, as well as preparing what material goes to the press, how the ministers should speak, what should they speak. So I provide all the researched content for it. Along with that, being a lawyer and having a specialization in law, I also give in legal inputs. So in brief, my role is as a communication advisor as well as a legal advisor for the central ministry. That is what I'm doing currently. Right?
Great. Great. And so I'm assuming it must be very difficult to understand what kind of, what kind of words you should be using, what kind of content that you should be generating, because you said that you're working at an influential office. So tell us about what is the science behind choosing the right set of words or content. How do you choose content? How to create content, basically? What is the science behind that, according to you?
So to answer your question, there are two parts to your question. What kind of words I choose and what kind of content I select. So first, on the basis of words, the ministry is very clear on the kind of words we have to use. So we've been given instructions to use simple words and short sentences. So no big jargons, no words like paraphernalia or big words which are not easily comprehensible. So brevity in the content. Now, that is in terms of choosing the words. Words is very clear instruction, short sentences, and the sentences should be short. It should not run more than a line. Normally, when we get down to writing, often what we do is in terms of expressing ourselves, we start writing a sentence which ends after 3 lines. That is a big no-no in generally in what instructions we've given, and also when I'll talk to you about journalism, I'll tell you how that hampers everything, not just your content but also your reachability. Now, secondly, about the content of the work I do. So content has to be one thing, it should be authentic. So that is a prime importance. From where you're taking up, obviously these are facts. When a minister or when any person at influential level talks, one is opinion. Opinion they will say on their own. We do not generally give them an opinion. We might give them starter points where they can develop their opinion, but our work is to give them facts, or raw, dry facts. Now, when you're giving them facts, you have to be very careful from where are you picking those facts. Of course, those facts are in the public domain, but in the public domain, we don't have to pick it from secondary sources. We have to pick it from the primary sources. Now, for primary sources, what is a primary source? If I talk about legal news, it is about the exact judgment or the order that becomes the primary source. If I talk about news about a particular policy, the number of figures a government has achieved in that particular policy, where do I get those facts? One, their own website. Every website of the government comes up with reports. So that is an authentic source. And if the reports are not available, the third comes the PIB. That is a press release of the ministry. So just, reiterating it, words wise, simple sentences and simple words and short sentences, and for content, authentic sources. So these two are of paramount importance when we're writing anything from the minister's handle, when we are writing anything, what he could speak and what will go out from into the public. So you have to be very careful about the facts you give.
So simple language and good choice of sources, right choice of sources.
Choice of source. Right, authentic choice of sources.
Okay, great. Choice of sources. And okay, so your background is quite unique. You're a lawyer. You have worked in the field of journalism, and now you are working in a completely different domain. So let us start with your with your with the initial phases of your career, and then we can unfold the aspects of journalism that you have learned. Can
Right,
we
right.
move ahead? Yes, please.
Yeah. So to start with, I was always very passionate about researching and writing from
Mhm.
my school days. I won't even call it university days. From my school days, like even when I graduated, like passed out from my school, also I was the editor of my English magazine of my school. I always was very fond of writing and putting down my thoughts into words, putting down facts into words. That is something I really enjoyed. But I did not know at that particular point of time that I could make it as a career. And since I strongly believed in the accuracy of the facts and writing an opinion on it and finding out the interpretation of those words, so the next career, which the first career in fact which came to my mind, was law, because law is all about interpretation of facts and voicing out those particular facts in the way you want the other person to hear and understand. So I think choosing law came very naturally to me because I had no experience or no knowledge, I would say, to go into the writing domain. So while I was doing law, I was like after my school, I did my law from National University, which is as I clear CLAT and all. So once I was finished with that, even in the college also, I was very fond of writing. I would write, and also I would participate very rigorously in debates. In debates as well as moot courts of mock courts, where you get hypothetical cases and you fight on it. So all that was somehow helping me to garner the experience of putting my writing words, written words into my speaking. It was making me confident about my thoughts, about my opinions. And that is when I started. Once I completed my graduation, the first job, fortunately, I got as a judicial researcher with the Honorable Supreme Court of the country. So I was briefing the Supreme Court sitting judges. Now, what I mean by briefing them, I would make a brief of all the cases which the judge would address in a day. Now, again, somehow life is a full circle. Now, today also, what am I doing is I'm doing it for the ministry. At that time, I was doing the same thing for the Supreme Court judge. What I was doing is I would write, make so there are files that when it comes to Supreme Court, the files come from the lower courts, like from the district court, then the high court, and if there's a tribunal involved. So it at times it comes from 5 different courts to reach the Supreme Court. Now you can imagine the mammoth amount of files which would be there. Now a Supreme Court judge does not have the time to read all those files. So what I would do is I would make a brief 1-page note of what all those entire, say, 15 files are talking about. Now, when you're making a brief note, what is important? Short sentences, of course, because it has to be clear and simple words, right? Again, I was doing the same thing. See, because law he knows, he just needs to know the facts. So at my first job also, I was doing the same thing. Again, along with that, we were also writing speeches for the minister, the orders and the judgments which come by. We would look into it if the accuracy, because in one day the judges would be giving, say, 100 orders. Now, how that order is linked to the facts of the case. So we will go back, find out the facts, and then sit with the lordship. So we call our judges the lordship, and we would sit with him and discuss about things. And that was in brief. So my first job, though it was in law, but it was all about researching and writing. And then once I got that experience, which was an amazing experience, I went on to try my hands at litigation. So litigation is all about, again, litigation is fighting cases in the court. So I would from the getting a client to argue in the court, which would involve client consultation, drafting, reviewing of the documents, researching which particular section of the act would go into interpretation of the things of what the case is about. That would all, I would be doing that independently. So, that gave me the experience to look at a particular problem from a holistical view. So when you argue in the court, when you prepare a document, one key point is what you do is you always write it from what the opposite person might, what the opposite party might question you on. So you're not writing from one side, you're basically writing from both the sides, taking care of that your open ends are covered. So again, it all comes down to having a holistical approach of what you're writing, of what you're researching. If you're going to research that, okay, what is a punishment? Suppose, for example, to give an example, my client has been, some fraud has taken place with my client. Now, I don't have to just write about or find out, research on just about, how his defenses would be. I would also have to see that what the opposite party will come up with. So it's a holistical approach towards researching. And then while I was doing this, I wanted to gain more experience. I did that for about good 4 years. And once I thought that, I need to learn more. I need to, increase my knowledge on the subjects which I like. And I used to love litigation. So international commercial litigation, local I had done. I wanted to go understand what happened at the international level. So I did a master's in international commercial litigation and intellectual property rights, especially a trademark and copyrights. Though my heart lies in the litigation field, that because I wanted to do a master's, and that 1 year of master's was amazing. It was pretty hectic, strenuous, but the satisfaction I received at the end of it was amazing because it was all research. I wrote a dissertation also on why startups need to file their trademark at the very beginning. So I talked to a lot of startups. I talked to a lot of people who were a lot of founders who had the unicorns at that time. So just it gives a very good perspective of things. It amplifies the knowledge, right? And that was something I was loving. And once I came back from my master's, I realized that I have a panache for writing. I love and enjoy doing that. Not that I like arguing in the courts any less, but then I realized this is where art lies in. And somehow the opportunity for working with HT Media came back. And that is how I started writing. I met the editor of Hindu's Live Mint at that time, and Mr. Anil Padmanabhan. What a splendid, amazing guy who has experience ranging more than 35 years of his life. And he is one who helped me understand everything about journalism. Because I was raw. I loved writing, no doubt about it. But journalism is not just about writing. Journalism is way beyond that. It's not just about putting raw facts into it. How those facts will be perceived, what should go into it, because one has to remember when I write an article in a newspaper, it is read by 2 million people, more than 2 million people in a day. And that is just, I'm talking about the Indian survey. And once I go for digital, that is for the print. If I go for digital, the number, a trending report would fetch about 5 million reads a day. So you have to be very sure of what you're writing. And that is where I learned the key of journalism in the last of my career. And that's how, after I ended journalism, and then my opportunity came by with the ministry where he wanted somebody who has journalism experience, and there I was. So that is a very brief storyline, but a detailed storyline explaining my interest in writing.
No, thank you very much for sharing your story. And let us try to get into the nuances of journalism step by step. So let me ask you a couple of questions. First is, what are the various kinds of journalism reporting?
Okay, so various kinds of journalism, very broadly, there are, say, about 4 to 5 fields. Okay, before I go into those 4 or 5 fields of journalism, one has to remember that 2 types of writing styles. One is reporting, one is opinion pieces. When I go for reporting, generally, when you write for newspapers, we're reporting a news. When you write a news for a tech magazine, you are reporting the news. You're telling what the facts are. And the second type kind of writing style is opinions. Now, when you write opinions, it is not just about the facts, it's about what you feel about it. Now, opinions have very limited readership, let me tell you that. So, if you're at the beginning of the career, reporting is the key. You can develop your opinion once you have made a mark in the industry. Because, if you're a new person, why would I want to know your opinion? I can make my own opinion. Always remember the readers want to know the facts and want to make their own opinions. Now, coming down to your question as to the kinds of journalism. So, one first is investigative journalism. Now, in the investigative journalism, a journalist has to uncover the hidden truth or facts of a particular case or particular situation. Now, I am sure the listeners over here, couple of them might have watched Inventing Anna. Inventing Anna is a Netflix series. So there, the role of investigative journalism is of paramount importance. The movie, the entire series has been shot from a journalist perspective. Now that is the entire journey of how an investigative journalist works. They are trying to uncover stories. It is not a one-day job. So investigative journalism is a long story that every day a case will happen. They will follow it up. They will investigate. They will go to the parents of the accused or the victim. They'll figure out the acquaintance of the person and then make a report. That is investigative journalism. Then comes the political journalism. Now, political journalism is very important because when we go for the news, political news has repercussions across every domain. May it be your economy, may it be international relationship, may it be your everyday routine. Politics is of very high importance in generally in all the news outlets. We have political bureaus assigned. Political bureaus are the head top 5% of the media outlet, and they will have their own circle of friends, network from where they get the news. Now, in political journalism, there are three types: international, national, and local. So politics also cover the three different levels. Now, again, now these three levels will eventually have to be covered by the same political bureau team, because a local news will have a national effect, a national effect would reach into the national effect. So you're understanding this is of one of the very prime important position in the part. So normally if you see political journalists are very seasoned journalists, because you have to analyze that a word spoken by a minister or a word spoken by a political leader is not just mere words, it has a political repercussion to it. What are those particular repercussions? How will it affect? That all goes into it. So a seasoned journalist is generally preferred. Then I come down to the third, crime journalist. A crime journalist or the legal journalist, if you more easy to comprehend what is legal journalist, we call them. We also call them crime journalists. They will cover the legal cases. Now, if you look into the crime journalism would involve writing about a mysterious homicide, and would also involve writing about some money embezzlement which has taken place. So a legal journalist would be writing about, say, Vijay Mala running off with the money, and that person would also write about the Ayodhya cases happening in the Supreme Court. So a legal journalist covers all the domains, but from the legal angle. So a legal journalist is again of a very high importance in newspapers. Why is that? Because the legal journalist just gives a legal perspective to different subject matters, may it be pharmacy, aviation, say media, celebrities. So there are different news subjects, but the angle is legal. So again, legal journalist occupies the same position as political journalist, because even politics, suppose a politician says something, the legal repercussions of it. So again, so these two are prime importance. And thirdly is the business journalist. Now, business journalist generally goes on to the business of things. Now, again a very prime important journalism sector, because if you could understand, when we have talked about newspapers, we have the national daily newspapers like Hindustan Times, Times of India. But when we go for specialized newspapers, you don't see a specialized newspaper in terms of legal or in terms of political newspaper. We talk about business newspapers. For example, Economic Times or Times of India, Mint for Hindustan Times. So you have to understand business occupies a very big section in the journalism. So to culminate the 4 points, the main journalist kind of journalism, investigative journalism, then political journalism, crime journalism or the legal journalism, and business. These four are the core of from where the journalism takes place. And these are the core, which are the hard, we call them the hard beats. So whenever a journalist talks about a particular reporting, when I'm talking about political, legal, we call them beats. So beats are like, so political beat, investigative journalism beat, legal beat, business beat. So these four form the core of journalism. This is a hard topics. Now we go into the soft topics. In soft topics, we have article, we have topics like arts, what gallery is coming up, which artist is coming up, celebrities, what particular celebrity has done, because Times of India has a big celebrity team which works on celebrity news, because that is one of the highest clickbait options they have. So there are different style of getting money, although that will go on some other time. But then art, celebrity, education, sports. Now you have to understand why these soft topics are, because they don't happen every day. Sports are not happening every day. News on the education is not happening every day. A news on a celebrity, yeah, we have a lot of celebrities, so they happen every day. But for all practical purposes, it is not everyday news. So these are hard topics and soft topics. So these are two broad definitions of the kinds of journalism, right?
Hmm.
I
Yes, yes,
have
that,
explained it in depth.
yes, yes. That is what I was about to say. That is good. And just a follow-up question for this: what are the different mediums of journalism reporting? Uh,
Yeah, that's a good question. So in different media journalism, there are three mediums basically. One is digital. What I mean by digital is it covers all your digital portals of the newspapers, the blog posts, the magazines, which are all digital, which are online. Okay, so digital media is booming right now. Digital media is where the money is right now, because digital, as we know, everybody is going tech. Nobody has a time to get the newspaper and read it. It's on your phone. So digital media, the best part is that as a starter, since we have a start audience which are just starting, so you might not get an opportunity to write in the print, but digital media is where you have to hit the nail, because digital media is where the opportunity lies, and digital media is where you start right away. So second comes the print media. Print media, as the name itself suggests, is a newspaper, it's a magazines. So print media, it comes because print media has paucity of space. You cannot do a story more than say 500 words. If it depends on when you see a newspaper, there are certain spaces given. So just to I'm diverting on the topic, but just tell you, when you see a newspaper, the top is the lead news, because the lead news is very important. That's the first glance you have of the newspaper. Then you see the bottom news is called the anchor news. Anchor news, as I said earlier, is really soft news. When you talk about soft news, generally about climate, environment, education, sports. These are soft news. So that when a reader picks up a newspaper, bang, he sees the big important, हम कहते हैं headline क्या है आज की. The headline of the day is the top news, and the bottom is the anchor news. So print has its own rules differently. They have very different rules, because what kind of color, what kind of headline, everything is very different in terms of print. But unfortunately, print is dying slowly. It's dying a slow death. Yes, it has its audience. I won't say it doesn't. It will always be there. It will be there for next, I would say, 15 years. But the readership has reduced in a huge amount, especially the COVID has affected drastically. So a lot of print medias are closing down. And third comes in broadcasting. Now, broadcasting would include radio, podcast. A lot of podcasts are coming up with which will give you brief news. So a lot of these digital media outlets, what they're doing is, along with giving them digital news, like written digital news, they're also giving the podcast of it. So that gives the readers, because a lot of readers don't have the time to read or look at the screen. What they do is they just plug on the earphones, go for their jog, go for their walk, or go for on their way to the office. They listen to the news. So podcast news, broadcasting news, even for radio. If you see radio earlier, radio, it was a radio from where the news used to come up. This TV and the media, TV, print came way later in our lives. Our parents were just listening to news on the radio. So radio is still there. As I said, radio has few, people who viewership, but similar to print. But then they have their audience. People who want to listen to the news on the radio, they will not read on the print or go on the digital. So these medium are uh, digital, print, and broadcasting.
Great, great. And yes, you're right about the timelines. And as we are going digital, it may become a reality that we may not be having a lot of print options in future. But having said that, it is important to understand, what is right and wrong in journalism. Is there anything called ethics in journalism? Is there any what exactly is that? So let us touch that part if you're comfortable.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
please tell us?
sure.
Can you please
So,
tell us a little about principles
so,
or something?
so basically, principles of journalism, ethics in journalism is something which there are no defined, it's not given in any book. It is not given in any print form. uh, Ethics and principles are very relative and subjective topics. So, it is up to you what the ethics are and how do you go about it. But as I said earlier, I have learned from my senior in Mint, and he gave me, the four principles, which he told me stick by these, and in case anything happens, I look into it. So I'll tell you from my experience. So, he was very good with making abbreviations out of it. So we call it BAIT, like BAIT. When you give a bait to somebody, that is the bait principles of journalism. So how we go about it is, first is balanced story. So always remember, being a reporter, you have to give a balanced story. You don't have to give your opinion. At the very onset of a conversation, I told you about two kind of writings, reporting and opinion pieces. Now, when we talk, and here I'm talking about reporting. I'm not talking about my opinion pieces. So in reporting, it has to be a balanced story. I was in a legal beat. I was covering the legal news. So what would happen is, often a case would, we are human at the end of the day. It would look, okay, this is, this case is the victim is, really being victimized, and, there's a lot of happening. So what we'll do is we'll write a story one side. I would get a call from editor and be like, look into it. It's not a balanced story. So a balance is of paramount importance in any story. It should not, you have to just give them facts. The reader has to make up their points. I have to tell them the defendant said this, the plaintiff said this, the judge said this. I have to make sure all the voices in a particular story are covered. So when we write articles, we call them story. So, I might use these words interchangeably for the listeners. That's story and article. Now, going second, one is B, balanced story. Second is accountability. You have to be accountable of what you're writing. This is a very, so what I mean by saying this, that, if I'm saying that, I present a particular news and somehow the particular news is wrong, or, I've used a different word which conveys a different meaning, stand by it, accept your mistake. See, to err is to human. We are humans at the end of the day, but you have to be accountable for it. The moment the reader knows that, the moment the reader understands that, if this person is going to write wrong, that person, he or she will accept it, the reader's interest in you will increase. Because if you do not accept your mistake, if you become a very arrogant person that, no, I cannot make mistake, the reader will lose trust in you. So accountability. So don't worry. I mean, of course, you can. There is a. Of course, you don't have to make errors, but there is a room for errors. But understand and take accountability of your work. It really helps from the reader's perspective. Third is independence. Now, independence on an article means that if I'm writing an article, say about a legal case which involves say, my father, then I'm not an independent writer. So you have to be an independent writer. What I mean by independent writer is there should not be any kind of influence made in terms of relation, which could be, if I'm writing a case, about my father's, where my father is involved, it would not be an independent article. I might say, no, I put a balanced view, but no. The moment the audience comes to know that I'm related to that news through certain ways, my entire the trust the reader will lose into me. It could also be a money relationship. It is not just the relationship of blood or the relationship of human relationship. It could be money relationship. For example, if I'm writing a news, say about Hindustan Times, that Hindustan Times is one of the best newspapers, and as per this and this facts. Yes, I'm giving the facts, definitely. I'm supporting my argument, but at the end of the day, they are my paying masters. So, again, the reader will understand. Readers are not stupid. Remember one thing, whoever is reading your article, always consider them an intelligent person who's reading it. So readers are not stupid. The moment you lose the independence in an article, your article is gone. There is no veracity in what you're saying. Third is the truth and accuracy of your article. Now, see, truth again. Now, at times, truth, you might not know the truth. When I'm reporting a particular news, I might not know whether, suppose for legal news, that whether what the defendant is saying is truth or not, but the accuracy of it. So truth and accuracy go together. Why do I say truth? Because it could be like, even if it is not truth, I'm going with the accuracy bit. And what is the accuracy? The defendant did say this in the petition. Whether it is true or not, I do not know. But the accuracy of it, because from where I'm taking the information is the accurate information. Right? Like, for example, when I go about writing an article about, say, how many readers have increased for a particular newspaper. Now, I don't know whether it is truth or not, whether the research has been done correctly or not, because I'm not the one doing the research. I'm just quoting it from a XYZ place. Now, the quoting from, again, I said, as when you're quoting somebody, something or somebody, it has to be primary source. So the accuracy of it is main importance. So just to, bring it back, what I was trying to tell you, the principles of ethical journalism. Again, I'm telling you, it is some principles which have been told to me by my senior. There is no book which tells you about ethical journalism. It's your own take on it. But my take is of bait, balanced story, accountability, independent story, and truth and accuracy. If you get the bait, you get the journalism right. That's how my boss used to say that.
Very interesting way of putting it. And thank you, Japnam, for saying for sharing that. Since most of our audience are into early stage of their career, so I would like you to speak something about, tell us about, how as a fresher I can get a job in journalism, how I can enter journalism. So something on that front, please.
Right, right. So I understand, like a lot of people have interest in writing. So before I jump into the bandwagon of opting for a job in journalism, what you can start doing right away. You could be in your second year of college, third year of college, or even first year of college. First year, even better. And if by somehow some listener comes up who's a student in school or college, even better. Because remember one thing, in writing, it's all about practice. It is not, it is a skill which you have to keep on improving upon, because language is changing, new style, writing styles are changing, the audience is changing. Right? Where the earlier the articles would range from, say about 2000 words, now 240 words is the limit. Any article more than 240 minutes, the reader would lose interest. You're getting it? So you have to keep on learning. So when the earlier you start, the better, because then you have the easier way of changing your writing style. Now coming down to how to secure a job, as in terms of you start right now, again, so remember college media, like your college, your school, your university would have a writing, would have a magazine. If it doesn't have, now's the time. Why don't you start it? It doesn't take much. Just write two articles. Ask a couple of friends that why don't you write an article on this. Every person would have some interest. Collate those articles and make a booklet of it. Make a two-page booklet. Who's asking you to make a magazine out of it? Make a two-page. But the point is, start writing right away, and write at a level where people are reading you, people around you. So when you're at a college, you're at a very good position because you have the audience right there with you. Getting it? Your college, your audience is your teachers, your audience are your students, your peers. So immediately start writing. Second comes your own blog. See, a lot of time I understand a lot of people might not be comfortable writing uh, for the public. Start writing your own blog and start right away. It might not get the first like or the second like, it might not get likes immediately, but the consistency is the key. Keep on writing. And let me tell you, when you write a first blog and when you come down to, I won't even say 50, I'll say 10. Writing 10 blog is nothing. 240 words, 10. Even when you come on 10th blog, you will see a difference in your writing style. So that is what, writing is all about practice. So start your own blog. And thirdly, make a portfolio of articles. Because once you step out in the world and when you look for a job, they will ask you, have you written before? What is a portfolio of it? So in that portfolio, see, when I'm telling you that write a magazine, those magazines, hard copies can serve as amazing portfolios. Somehow, even today, even though print is dying, but print is still the most respected form of news reporting. If you ask any journalist or any expert at in any particular field, that person would read a newspaper rather than see it on the TV or a podcast, because print has the most authentic news. So somehow print is still still very highly respected. So go for college media, go for university, try to do it. Go for your own blogs and go make your own portfolio. So that will help you when you step. That is at the very initial stage. Now when let me come down to, suppose you already working. Okay, you have already made your education domain and you haven't done these steps. And maybe our listener are in the final year of the college. Now what do they do? Right, because they haven't made their portfolios, they haven't made their blogs, they haven't made their media in the college media. So what do they now is that even right now, start reaching out to newspapers like Times of India, who write their own blogs. Times of India has a very interesting section where they invite people to write for them. So reach out to them. Send cold emails to different magazines, to different newspapers. Tell them that I am interested in this particular beat, and send a writer. So reach out and send a small writer, not more than 200 words. Nobody has the time. Nobody has a time, and especially if you're nobody, if you are nobody, nobody will give you that time. But if you write in a particular 200 words and reach out to them, so cold emails is a key at the very beginning. While you're sending the cold emails, start with what I told you initially about writing your own blogs. Because see, at the end of the day, they will look at your writing style. In my case, I did not have, so I was lucky enough. I did not, despite the fact I did not have a lot of writing in my past in terms of showing it as a portfolio, but my boss somehow saw my articles with respect to what I wrote in my school. Imagine, from my school to my journey of college and everything, I did not have anything as a which I could show as a portfolio, but he saw my writing at that time. So he knew that, if 10 years ago this person could write like this, then maybe in 10 years, even though the experience was of law, but that person could, learn something. So the key is immediately start writing. Wherever you can, whatever you find, print, online, blog, you start writing and then start reaching out to these.
So to summarize, start writing, maybe create a blog, maybe take initiatives in your college, in your school, which can be creating your own magazine, since you have an audience there already. So basically, do something and then try to reach out to the publishers.
Right. And even while reaching out, if you don't have anything in your kitty at the moment, while reaching out, start writing, make your own blog, send them a link. That, while I'm sending you for my publication in your particular newspaper, this is my link. It's just young right now because, just tell them honestly. I mean, if the writing is good, if you're worth getting published, one article will also do it.
True. So uh, you said we should start writing. We should start something. Can you talk more about the structure of an article, how to write an article, maybe?
Right.
Can you tell?
Yes. So article writing. So now, whenever you write an article, the first thing when you look at an article is the headline. Now the headlines, a good article will have the smallest of the headlines. Would have, say, a headline of, say, maximum 4 or 5 words. And that article will catch your interest. Because see, as I said, the attention span of the readers is reducing by the day. So a short, crisp, brief, enticing headline gives it. But of course, remember, when you're writing a short article headline, it doesn't have to lose its meaning. ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि article is about, say, about environment, and you're writing the headline of a film dialogue, because yes, it might catch the attention for sure, but the moment the person goes second line, he won't go read the entire article, and that is not something which you would want. So first, structuring, when you structure an article, first is the headline. The headline is of paramount importance, and that is not just about the about how the readers would perceive, also in terms of when you go about when searching on the Google. So the SEO generally looks at the articles which convey the meaning. So headline is a very big importance. So once you go over the headline, below the headline comes the byline. Now, what do I mean by byline is it's called the name byline, which is the name author. So headline, then comes the name byline, that is the byline is always an author. Sometimes an article is written by the inputs of 2-3 authors. So then there'll be, byline, say Japnam, Vedant, another person, right? Japnam and Vedant. Now, again, you have to understand, like, when you're reading an article, if your input is, say, is about 70%, or I would say 60%, then suppose I have written an article and my input 60%, my name will come in the front. So how, as a reader, how will you understand that is that, okay, fine, suppose Japnam's domain is legal, Vedant's domain is tech. So this article would have more of legal inputs. So, once you start making your name, a lot of readers will associate your name with a particular domain in their mind. And that will also help your articles. And suppose I wrote an article which my input is 90% and your Vedant's input is 10%. So then the name will not go in byline. It goes at the end of the story, and it will go end of the article, and like Vedant, what's contributed to the story. So next time when you pick up a newspaper, you will always check this out. You see there are bylines, there are different names, and at the end of the story, at times it is like the X person contributed. That is the kind of contribution given to the story. So when you're talking about the structure, headline, byline of the name, then comes a story byline. Now what is story byline? Story byline again is very important. Okay, headline I've read the name of the author. A lot of readers these days don't even read the author, but a good reader who is enthusiastic about reading would generally know the writer, who's writing the article. Then comes the story byline. What do you mean by story byline? Story byline is a brief two-liner of the entire article. So in those 2 lines or 3 lines, max to max, I will understand what the article talks about. It is in these 3 lines the reader makes a choice whether he wants to read the article or not. So see, headline is a clickbait, whereas the actual attraction comes in the what was story byline. The story byline is a lead para which helps the reader to decide whether you want to go further or not. Then we start writing the article. These 3 are the main important thing. Then you start writing article. Always remember, when you start writing an article, this is my way of writing as to make a skeleton first. Divide it. Heading, body, conclusion. Divide your article into 3 main paragraphs. Heading, body, and conclusion. So in the heading, now these are talking about the body. I'm just talking about the body. So when I'm using the heading, it's the heading in the body. Now in the body, once you've drawn the skeleton, now by the skeleton, what we mean is write these 3 points. This is for the first time writers. By and by, you don't even need to go into that. You'll know, okay, I've written the headline, I'm going to write. So once you do this, start writing. At times, what will happen is you know what your conclusion is. So you write the conclusion first, because writing the body becomes difficult. So write the conclusion first. That, at the end, I want to write this. It generally becomes easier. So write the conclusion first, and then when you come down to the heading, like which is in the body heading, body and conclusion. In the heading, you have to answer 6 questions: who, what, where, when, how. What, where, why. 6. I'll just say it again: who, what, where, why, when, how. So when we're writing a story, when we're writing an article, who said it? Suppose it is somebody who said it, like it's a ministry who said something. It is a Twitter giant who's, the company has said something. Who has said? What they have said? Where they have said? Have they said it on the Twitter? Have they said it in a press release? Have they said it in if not this thing in a article published by their company? Why have they said it? So why is something which you might or might not know, because at times I might not know why the ministry is saying something, but if you answer that question in the very beginning, it will help you. That because if a writer, you would know the ministry is announcing intermediary guidelines for social media. Why is he doing it? Because there was a demand for it. So you just have to write one word: demand. The ministry comes out with social media guidelines because of its demand. You're getting it? I just used one word, but I have explained the why of the story, when and how. So again, when it was said and how it was said. So again, you have to answer these 6 questions in that body paragraph. The first paragraph is a what, when, where, why, when, how of the entire story. Then you support that with the body, which is the facts, what happened, how it happened in detail. Then you go into detail and then you conclude. So in conclusion, you have to summarize it in max in 3 lines, that whatever you said. So the conclusion could be looking forward, that we expect this, or it could be hence this happened. Simple conclusion. And if you don't know anything, a trick which my boss told me is that other conclusion samajh nahi aa raha. What do you don't know what is going to happen. You don't know, if this is it, then end it with a witty quote or end it with a question. Do you agree with that story? Or this is what is social media. Suppose I'm writing on social media guidelines, and I don't know if something is going to happen in the future. I don't know if this is it. I don't know. If I have to end, I would say, so your social media guidelines are here today for the wins. What do you think about it? Finish. The conclusion is not a conclusion which is not looking forward. It is not telling you. It is just a conclusion giving a question. So that is a trick which helps you in case you do not know how to put a conclusion. And plus, whenever you leave the reader with a question or a joke in the end, it just leaves a good aftertaste. You're getting it? That person will again, put your name and look for an article. Okay, fine. This was an interesting article I read. It left me with the question. So the writer trusts me. A reader who's reading it would see it. Question is good. If you're witty enough, go with a nice joke in the end. Right. So just to come back again, headline, just to come back to the main structure, the heading of the article, which has to be small, maximum 4 to 5 words. It is a clickbait. It will grasp the attention of the article, then the name of the author, then comes the story byline. Once you've taken the attention, you want the readers to stay put. So give a brevity of this thing, and then comes down to the body. Body has 3 parts: heading of what comes in, who, what, where, when, why, how. The body structure. The body structure is about the dry facts about the entire story, and end it with a conclusion, which could be looking forward, which could be as it is, which could be a joke, or which could be a question. Right? I hope I've explained the entire structure.
No, that was very easy to understand and very good for you to share thing with us. And but apart from the things that we have discussed, what advice would you give to the students or to early stage candidates, job seekers who would like to get into the domain of journalism? Any general advice
So,
apart from the ones that we have discussed?
So general advice, yeah. General advice would be, start writing, and, to be very honest, journalism, it takes, because it is a very competitive field. In companies, you work in a team. As a journalist, you are a sole lion. You will have to be single-handedly fighting everything, because there's so much of competition that there is no teamwork in journalism. Let me be very clear. Teamwork will come in your office, but even in your office, people would be very, secretive of the news they have, because people want to break the news. People want to be the first person to report a news. So you need to have a very strong personality to be a sole wolf to fight, to get into this domain. So mentally prepare yourself for that. Then secondly, don't worry if you don't have a portfolio right now. It is not the end of the world, because if you have the content in your mind, if you know that you have the knowledge, start writing, start practicing, put that knowledge. Also, there are a lot of people, a lot of newspapers who want experts. So what you can, another trick which I haven't said earlier, which I didn't say earlier, is you can start reaching out and tell them, I am this expert. I'm an expert in law. So next time, whenever you're doing a legal story, please call me up. Get your quotes in the newspaper. So moment people start quoting you, what you mean by quoting is, the story is a detailed story, and there will be one quote from some expert. So start reaching out, maybe not for an article, because you know that you don't have an article in your kitty to impress a publishing house. Tell them that I have the expert knowledge. I have a knowledge about drones. I am an expert in drones, and next time when you're writing a story, an article about drones, give me a call. I will give you an input. So see, there's another trick involved. You're not doing an entire story, but you're giving your expert opinion. Now, the moment you give an expert opinion, people start reading, your name comes, because in an article it comes up that Japnam Bindra, an expert in drones, told us about this. The article is of 500 words, but your expert opinion is there. Your name gets there. Next time somebody Googles your name is there. So, one, be very sure that you have to be an independent person in this field. There is not going to be teamwork. So mentally be strong and make up your mind while you venture into it, and start writing ASAP. Start writing immediately. If you can't write, send cold emails. Tell them that you're an expert in particular domain, and make a niche for yourself. Don't be a generalist. See, generalist will help you. See, again, this is a two school of thoughts. So, a lot of people say a person who's a generalist is somebody who can give opinion about anything and everything. But I would tell you that a niche in today's world gets, higher clickability than a generalist. Right? So that is my personal opinion. So I think that's my tip for people, everybody who's listening over here. Be strong in your endeavors. Start writing ASAP. Reach out. Journalism is about connections at the end of it. You reach out to as many people as you can. He won't, aaj nahi karega help, kal to karega. Because eventually they also need an expert, right? Somebody who's writing a legal story might not know about drone, and drone के ऊपर कोई policies आ गई हैं. At that time, that person will reach out to you. Oh, that person had pinged me and that person was a drone expert. Let me call him up. And it happens. I'm telling you, it might sound far-fetched, but no, it happens in the biggest. I have done it. I have people reaching out to me when I was journalist, and I thought that, oh, I don't know, I don't do this beat, I don't care about it. But then, when your editor is telling you, I need an expert quote on it, I usually reach out to them and they were there. So reach out, make connects, and it will definitely help you. So yeah, those are my 2 cents on journalism.
Sure. No, this sounds very helpful actually. And it is around 11 now, so we'll try to close the session. And before doing that, I would like to thank you very much. Thank you very much, Japnam, for sharing your thoughts, sharing your time, sharing your learnings for journalism, about your career, about general things. So thank you very much for that, Japnam. Thank you for
Thank you, Vedant, for having me here. I'm honored. I hope I could help somebody, even if whatever my 2 cents go out and reach people. So giving me that opportunity to, give out my experience to people who are listening to me. I hope it helps people, and, they can reach out whenever they want. It would be nice. I would love to help, because I think knowledge shared is knowledge expanded. So I very firmly believe in that.
Absolutely. Is there any medium where the viewers can reach you?
So they can send me an email. My email ID is japnambindra@gmail.com. Simple and sweet. And my name, you can see my name. They just have to add @gmail.com, and that's my email ID. So they can send me an email, and I will definitely respond. I will help in the best way I can.